Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Giridhari Radhe Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Satasri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind Ki Jai Namacharya Shilaridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Giridhari Bhagwan Ki Jai Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maiya Ki Jai Sri Sri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gaurango. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. So Hare Krishna everybody, welcome. First read from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita Ki Jai. Continuing from the chapter, our master has not finished his work. When Srila Prabhupada mentioned his preference for the Ayurvedic medical treatments available in India, some of the devotees suggested they bring a doctor from India. After considering the expense, Prabhupada decided to send a letter first. Unable to sit up or write, he slowly dictated a letter to Sri Krishna Pandit, who had given him quarters for several years in his temple in Delhi. Sattva Sarup read it back to Prabhupada and then typed it right there in Prabhupada's hospital room. This is from the letter, quote, "I'm writing this letter from the hospital. All of a sudden, I've developed some headache as well as throbbing of the chest. When I rub my chest, I feel some sensation in my left hand, and when I rub my left hand, I feel sensation in my chest. My left hand has no more works, my left hand no more works independently. I therefore ask you if there is any good Vedic physician in Mathura who can send me some medicines. That is, you purchase and send them by airmail to our temple, ISKCON 26th 2nd Avenue, New York. The symptom is predominantly where I get severe pain within my head, and the trembling of the left hand is coming every 10 or 15 minutes. I'm afraid if this is not a disease like Lakshya, the boys are taking utmost care of me. There is no scarcity of care. But still, after all, this body is subject to death. I came here with a great mission to execute my spiritual master's order, but my heart is stabbing me. Of course, I'm not afraid of Maya. I know Maya cannot touch me, but still, if I die in this condition, my mission will remain unfulfilled. Please therefore pray to Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya and Vrindavan Bihar to rescue me this time. My mission is still not finished. I wish to live for a few more days. They are prepared to call an experienced Ayurvedic physician who treats such diseases, but I have not allowed the boys. But if necessary, if you give me an expert physician who can travel here, we can send necessary money for his coming here or arrange for air ticket. You can consult the man in charge of Dhaka Shakti. At last, I may inform you that I am inclined towards Ayurvedic treatment. You can consult the Ayurvedic physician in Vrindavan who is a Gaudiya Vaishnav. He knows me very well. He sells my books also. Two things are to be done if it is possible. To send me proper medicines and directions, that will be nice. But if I require to return, that also I can do. Please try to reply as soon as possible in English because my students cannot read Hindi. So long as I am in bed, it's not possible to read letters. You can treat this letter very urgently. Consult necessary physicians and let me know what I am to do. In Mathura, there are undoubtedly many Ayurvedic physicians and many quacks also. Try to avoid the quacks. I would have returned to India immediately, but the doctors say it is risky. If need be, I shall return as soon as I get strength to take the strain of the journey. I repeat my symptoms so that you can take necessary care. All of a sudden, I developed some throbbing between my heart and stomach about 4 days ago. I was so exhaustive, it was like fainting. Then I consulted a doctor who came and gave me medicine, but it was of no good effect. Therefore, my students at once transferred me to the hospital where they're spending more or less 400 rupees daily. There is no question of neglect. All scientific treatment is going on. But I think Ayurvedic medicine will be proper. Therefore, I request you to take immediate steps and reply me. I hope this letter will convince you the actual position. While reading this letter, you may consult some friends who know English very well so that he'll read it correctly and reply correctly. There is no scope for corresponding in Bengali or in Hindi. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. Very nice glimpse of Srila Prabhupada's mood in terms of his own treatment, what to talk about, advising others. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin parahamsyam ekam amalam jnanam param giyate tatra jnana viraga bhakti sahitam naishkarmyamavishkritam tat shrinvan supathan vicharana paro bhaktya vimuchye naraha bhaktya vimuchye naraha bhaktya vimuchye naraha. Santraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Today reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, and we'll be covering texts 4 and 5. Krishna willing. So we'll do text 4. Tam agatam ta utthaya pranipatya cha पूजयित्वा यथा देशं सुखासीनम् अथा ब्रुवन् तम आगतं त उत्थाय प्रणिपत्याभिनन्द्य च पूजयित्वा यथा देशं सुखासीनम् अथा ब्रुवन् तम आगतं त उत्थाय प्रणिपत्याभिनन्द्य च पूजयित्वा यथा देशं सुखासीनम् अथा ब्रुवन्. Okay, devotees would like to read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam. Tamagatam Tauthaya Pranipataya Vinandaya Cha Pujyatva Pujaya Itva Yata Desham Sukashinam Ato Bruvan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. Tamagatam ta utthaya pranipattabhinandaya cha pujayita yatha desham sukhashinam tat atha bruvan. Hare Krishna.
Dandavad Pranam. Tam agatam ta utthaya pranipattabhinandya cha pujayitva yatha desham sukhashinam yatha bruvan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I am also trying. Tamagatam ta utthaya pranipatyavinanda cha pujayita jatha desham sukhashinam atha bruvan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Tam agatam ta uthaya pranipatyabhinandaya cha pujayitva yatha desham sukhashinam atha bhuvan. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we'll look at the word for word. Tam, to him, agatam, appeared, te, all the prachetas, utthaya, after getting up, pranipatya, offering obeisances, abhinandya, offering welcome, cha, also, pujayitva, worshipping, yatha adesham, according to regulative principles, sukha asinam, comfortably situated, atha, thus, abruvan, they said. Okay, somebody would like to read the translation and purport together? The small purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandot Pranam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As soon as the Prachetas saw the great sage Narad had appeared, they immediately got up, even from their asanas. As required, they immediately offered obeisances and worshipped him. And when they saw that Narad Muni was properly seated, they began to ask him questions. Purport. It is significant that all the Prachetas were engaged in practicing yoga to concentrate their minds on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
And we'll also do the next verse since it's a short purport. Prachetasa uchuhu swagatam te surarsyadya dishtya no darshanam gataha tava chankramanam brahman abhayaya yatha ravehe. Prachetasa uchuhu swagatam te surarsyadya dishtya no darshanam gataha tava chankramanam brahman abhayaya yatha ravehe. Word for word translation. Prachetasaha uchuhu. The prachetas said, Su agatam, welcome. Te, unto you. Sura rishe, O sage among the demigods. Adya, today. Dishtya, by good fortune. Naha, of us. Darshanam, audience. Gataha, you have come. Tava, your. Chankramanam, movements. Brahman, O great Brahmana. Abhayaya, for fearlessness. Yatha, as. Ravehe, of the sun. Okay. Somebody would like to read the translation? Text 5.
Yes, Prabhu. All the Prachetas began to address the great sage Narada. O great sage, O Brahmana, we hope you met with no disturbance while coming here. It is due to our great fortune that we are now able to see you. By the traveling of the sun, people are relieved from the fear of the darkness of night, a fear brought about by thieves and rogues. Similarly, your traveling is like the sun's, for you drive away all kinds of fear. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, somebody else read the purport. It's also a short one.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Because of the night's darkness, everyone is afraid of rogues and thieves, especially in great cities. People are often afraid to go out on the streets, and we understand that even in a great city like New York, people do not like to go out at night. More or less, when it is night, everyone is afraid either in the city or in the village. However, as soon as the sun rises, everyone is relieved. Similarly, this material world is dark by nature. Everyone is afraid of danger at every moment. But when one sees a devotee like Narad, all fear is relieved. Just as the sun disperses darkness, appearance of a great sage like Narad disperses ignorance. When one meets Narad or his representative, a spiritual master, one is free from all anxiety brought about by ignorance. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I just read the translation again, 5, 4 and 5. As soon as the Prachetas saw that the great sage Narad had appeared, they immediately got up even from their asanas. As required, they immediately offered obeisances and worshipped him. And when they saw that Narad Muni was properly seated, they began to ask him questions. All the Prachetas began to address the great sage Narad. O great sage, O Brahmana, we hope you met with no disturbances while coming here. It is due to our great fortune that we are now able to see you. By the traveling of the sun, people are relieved from the fear of the darkness of night, a fear brought about by thieves and rogues. Similarly, your traveling is like the sun's, for you drive away all kinds of fear. So this is, as we are aware, the last chapter of this canto, and the concluding part of this entire pastime that was going on for many chapters together of Maharaj Prachina Barhi and the Prachetas. And see, it's interesting that, and it's a short chapter, I think it's 31 verses in this chapter. And this chapter at the end has got the Falashruti, which is the importance of hearing this pastime specifically. But it's worth contemplating that, see, the Prachetas, now how fortunate they were, right? And why, how did they get this good fortune? We've discussed it in one of the previous classes. The main qualification of the Prachetas was what? Can somebody share? So they were so fortunate. I'll just tell you why they were fortunate. I mean, we all know it, but it's good to recollect. First, they got the darshan of Lord Shiva. Then they got the darshan of Lord Vishnu. And then they got the darshan of Narad Muni, who is now discussing, I mean, who they are discussing these things with, these topics with. So they got the darshan of the Lord and his pure devotees. Now, isn't that good fortune? But what is it that actually propelled? What did they do? Something significant that gave them that good fortune. What do you think? There are many things perhaps, but what is a significant thing we understand?
The first thing, they were obedient to his parents first.
Yes.
He complied with all the instruction of his father.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely right, Prabhu. 100%. So their main qualification, apart from being born in a good family, which of good value, good culture, which is in one way important, although it's not the most important thing. The most important is the upbringing. So they were brought about in that environment, and most importantly, their consciousness was that they followed the instruction of their father 100%. And just because of that quality and the fact they stuck together as brothers, they were all together. The Lord was so happy, as we have read in the previous chapter. The Lord gave them the benediction, that he was so happy with their cooperative spirit.
Yeah, that is
the Lord is giving them benediction. You ask, mango kya mangte ho? Isn't it? Now, if that is not good fortune, what is good fortune? Right? So they were so fortunate. They were not ordinary people. And by the dealings of Prachetas with the devotees of the Lord and the Lord himself, it is very inspiring for us. We take a lot of lessons in terms of dealings, in terms of the right consciousness, and how we should lead our life to make our life successful in the best possible way that we can. So in this particular verse, 4 and 5, verse number 4, very, very important for us. This is a very practical verse to teach us how we should welcome the spiritual master. In fact, any Vaishnava for that matter, how we should welcome. And number 5 tells us the importance of not only welcoming and offering obeisances, to also interact and inquire from such devotees who we welcome at our place. And one thing to keep in mind is, nowadays it's very difficult to understand what is the meaning of welcome. Today, when we talk about welcome, we usually welcome people who are already scheduled to come to our place. Like, they have called us and they're saying that they want to visit us, or we have invited them. And when they come, then we invite. Then we welcome them, of course. That's one thing. But if you see in those days, or even if you go back about 50 years or a bit more, do you think people used to call somebody and come? Unless they're traveling from some far off place. And even then, at that time, there was no communication as such. So people just came. So when we talk about people being welcomed, they are usually people who just come unannounced. They just come. So even now we see when people are very close to each other and they stay close, or they just want to visit casually, they just drop by. If you're not at home, that's fine. They just move on, do something else. Or if they are home, they just have a quick chat. So that shows the closeness of the people who are interacting amongst each other. So in this particular verse, it is said, Narad Muni, the word is Agatam. The Narad Muni just appeared, and of course we know Narad Muni, he just appears by his own sweet will anywhere, and he has no discrimination. He can travel in heaven, in hell, on earth, other planetary systems, in Vaikuntha, in Golok, everywhere. He can go anywhere. He's got passport with all visa-free countries all over the universe. So he appears. And interesting thing is, when Narad Muni appeared, what were the Prachetas doing? We discussed in the last couple of verses. What were Prachetas doing? Is very significant to understand this context. Anybody?
They were meditating.
Sorry?
They were meditating.
They were meditating, yes. So when we say meditating means what? They were completely focused, right?
Yeah. Okay.
They were actually doing Ashtanga Yoga. And as part of the Ashtanga Yoga, you're right, Prabhu, they were meditating. So when you meditate on something, you're fully focused, right? And when somebody comes, it's a disturbance to your meditation. Like, it's not that they were watching Netflix and somebody comes and say, oh my God, I can't watch this movie now. These guys will come and sit. I have to give them chai. Oh my God. That's what people feel, especially children. So it is not that they were entertaining themselves. They were fully focused on the prime goal of their life. And of course, to that extent, they were successful even. And then when somebody comes in, it is from our material perspective, we see that as an intrusion, as an obstruction. But although they were focused in that, when they realized that Narad Muni has appeared, has come, they did not see it as an hindrance, as an obstruction. What did they see that as? They saw that as, what is the word here? They saw it as their good fortune. And they immediately, what did they do? Utthaya, they got up. So Narad Muni Agatam, what did they do? Utthaya, they got up. So they broke their meditation. They came out of their meditation and they wanted to give Narad Muni the appropriate welcome. Now, how did they welcome? This is there in the verse. First, Pranipatya. Pranipat, they offered their obeisances.
Okay.
Then, that's first. Second, Abhinandya, they offered welcome. So first is to offer pranam and then is to welcome. So welcome, of course, we know, normally when you welcome somebody, what do? We fold our hands, we smile, we request them to please come over and offer them a seat, a comfortable seat for them to sit. It's part of the Abhinandya process. And then the third one is Pujayitva. So Pranipatya, Abhinandya, and Pujayitva. Three things they did as part of the welcoming process. So they worshipped Narad Muni. And of course, when we say worship, worship does not necessarily always mean Aarti. Aarti is also a form of worship, but it doesn't mean always. The worship can also be with water. So offering them a glass of water, offering them a mat to sit, offering them some sweet words, they are also worship. So we are worshipping. And of course, holding that devotee in great awe and reverence, and considering it our good fortune that this person has actually arrived. So these three things they did. But another important part is, of course, it's Pracheta, so they know it already. But this is more for us. The another word that is used is Yatha Adesham. Yatha Adesham. Adesham means instructions. Adesh. And Yatha means it was according to the regulative principles. So their Pranipatya, Abhinandya and Puja Yitva, they were as per Yatha Adesham, as per the regulative principles. So all of these things that we normally do as customs, should we call them, of welcoming people, of being good, of having some moral values, all of them actually come from scriptures. But because we are not aware, we think that they're just some good things, some good qualities. Ultimately, everything that is good has to come from the supreme good, which is the Supreme Lord. And then it says, Sukhasinam atha bruvam. So once they welcomed Narad Muni, gave him a comfortable seat, situated him nicely, and ensured that he is comfortable, then what did they do? That is also important for us. And what did they do? They inquired. Pari Prashna, they inquired from him. So this is a very, very instructive verse. So when we have any devotee who comes to our place, this is how we should welcome. And at the end, we must inquire. And it is not that we shouldn't say hello or we should not discuss personal things. That doesn't mean that. It's not impersonal that you just come and talk of Vaikuntha and only Krishna. But the whole conversation amongst devotees, even if they're talking about themselves, ultimately it leads on to Pariprashna. Even if it is a problem of life, ultimately as a devotee, their life is also connected to Krishna. Their family is connected to Krishna. And they know that although they are having so many problems and they're inquiring, the solution also will be provided by Krishna. So for a devotee, by default, everything is Krishna, around Krishna. Because that's how they have been conditioned. That's because of the association. That's how they constantly interact and discuss amongst each other. So this part was about welcoming, is about understanding the great fortune of having a devotee step into their house. Sometimes we say, please step into our house and bless our house. Actually, that's right. Okay. Now, text 5 is now another significant verse which says why a devotee is coming to our place, giving us darshan is just so wonderful. It is giving us an idea of how fortunate we should consider ourselves if that happens. It's a rarity nowadays. But if that happens, we should grab the opportunity. So here in this particular verse 5, the Prachetas are saying, first they say Swagatam, and Prabhupada in the word for word gives us that the breakup. It is Su Agatam. So Agatam means coming and Su means auspicious. So when we say, Swagatam Krishna, Swagatam, Swagatam Prabhuji, Swagatam Mataji, we are actually saying that your coming to our place is extremely auspicious. And then they say Dishtya. That's the word I was asking, looking for. Dishtya means it is our good fortune. So we welcome them and we actually realize, or we actually feel from within that it's actually our good fortune. And when we feel like that, that welcoming becomes very natural. It's not that we have to think, now I have to offer obeisances first, then should I offer worship first? What should I do first? If you're thinking like that, it's a ritual. But when we have that gratitude feeling in our heart, we consider it a good fortune, these things just come naturally. We want to do more for that person. Now, why just 3 things? Here, it is given that 3 things to be done, or they did 3 things. We feel like doing more. When there is love, there is a lot more that we want to offer. Then, what did they say? That your audience, your darshanam is dishtya. That the fact that you have given us your audience, it is our good fortune that you have come here. Gataha, you have come here. And your movement, chakramanam, that the fact that you have come here, and when they also know that he travels, Narad Muni travels to many places, and he doesn't stay in one place for a long time. He just comes, does his business, distributes Krishna consciousness, improves the lives of the living entities he comes across, and then he moves on to somebody else. That's his business. So, two important things that the Prachetas mention here. First is the people, Narad Muni is coming, or a welcoming of a pure devotee in somebody's house. It removes two things. And this is also very significant for us to contemplate on. We all know that, but there are two things that happens when somebody comes and we welcome and we inquire and they give us instructions as per Shastras. Two things happen. So two things that we are constantly associating with, even though we don't want to associate, these two things are always with us in some form or the other. It cannot become zero. It may reduce drastically if we follow the process, but it cannot become zero. We don't want to associate with it, but these two people, we are constantly associating with these two people every single day, every single moment. Can anybody think of these two people, these two personalities?
Fear.
Fear, absolutely. Sometimes we say when we are, talking to new people, anybody here who's fearless, who has no fear at all? Sometimes to challenge, one person might put up their hand, but usually most of them, we know. So fear is one, and second is something that is born out of fear.
Ignorance.
Yes, but that's not the manifestation. Like fear is a manifestation, like you actually feel fearful.
Right.
Similarly, the most biggest disease and the biggest killer in today's society.
Anxiety.
Stress. So nowadays, if you tell somebody, Prabhu, don't take so much stress, you will get diseased, you will get sick. That is like, it's like the child saying, Prabhu, don't ask for the moon, you will not get it. I mean, stress is something we are living with. You cannot avoid stress. Whether it's a child, whether it's it's a grown-up person, it's a busy person, or somebody at home, you cannot avoid stress. Yes or no?
Yes, very good.
But then if you cannot avoid stress, then you'll get disease, no? Then what to do? You cannot avoid stress, but you have to manage the stress. Cannot avoid, but you have to learn to manage. If you cannot manage, Ram Naam Satya hai. You will become Chitta. You will go towards Chitta. That Chinta will take you to Chitta. So that's why we are constantly living in fear and anxiety. Now, when such personalities come to our place, we welcome them, we inquire from them, and they give us Krishna Katha. They make us Abhay, Abhayaya, it says. And how do they make us Abhayaya? Just like Ravehi, Ravehe, like the sun. The wonderful example given here is when there is sun, when the sun rises, there is light all over the place, and there is no question of darkness. Krishna Surjo Shamo Maya Hai Andokar. So just like the sun drives away the ignorance, drives away the darkness, and because the darkness is driven away, people are fearful because they are in ignorance, because they are in darkness, because they don't know. So today, that's why it is called knowledge is power. Of course, as devotees, we understand that bona fide knowledge is power. Not all knowledge is power. So when there is knowledge, ignorance goes away. And when ignorance goes away, we are fearful because we don't know what to do. That's why we are worried. That's why we are fearful. What if this goes away? What if I lose this? What if this happens? What if that happens? So we are fearful. Constantly we are fearing. Right? I always say the whole insurance industry is surviving on this one thing, which is fear. If people didn't have fear, the whole insurance industry will collapse. Sorry if there are any insurance people here in the forum. So the point is, fear is there, but fear is there because of darkness. So these people, when they come to our house, they actually dissolve the fear in our mind. They dissolve the ignorance that sometimes we may be associating with. And they forcefully, it's like the sun rising. Whether we like it or not, the sun will rise. And as soon as the sun will rise, there will be light. We cannot control. So similarly, we want the fear and anxiety to go out of our life, but we don't know what to do. And even if we do try and do something, maybe we may not be successful. But when a personality like this comes into our life, they forcefully, because of their presence, remove this fear and anxiety from our life completely. And as a result of that, we feel even more gratitude. We feel it is our greater fortune and we want to have them back. In fact, we don't want to let them go. You know, sometimes we say, oh, please, Prabhu, don't go, please stay for some more time. And one of our devotees that, I was associating with, he was mentioning, he travels all over the world. And he was mentioning that, see, when people tell you to stay, don't, even if when he travels to a country, he never stays for more than 3 days in any country. And he preaches all over the world. He never stays more than that. He comes on a Friday, leaves on Sunday. And people say, oh, we'll do seminar, we'll do this, you please stay over. He said, no. Why? It is better to leave when people don't want you to leave. If you don't do that, and if you keep staying for a longer time, then there will be a time when people will say, Prabhu, when will you leave? They may not say that openly, but in their heart, they may think, oh my God, itna din raha hai, I have to take care of him and, take him here, do this, do that. I'm a busy man. I've got my family, work, and he's not even going. Just because I told him don't go, he took it too seriously. So that's why these personalities, they realize, they are actually following the footsteps of the Prachetas when they're doing this. The Narad Muni, when they're doing this. But like Prachetas, we have to take it upon us as our great fortune. And that is essentially the whole idea of these two verses. So they are very, very practical aspects that have come from us. And of course, in one way, if we think about it, the Prachetas, they were devotees. They were already doing so much. They already had knowledge. They had the darshan of the Lord. Can you imagine? Would they be in ignorance? No way. Right? They had the instructions of Shivji. So they got blessings. All their prayers were fulfilled. In fact, they were even told whom to marry. And we know eventually, they will beget a son who will continue the progeny, in terms of moving ahead and creating good generation of wonderful, perfected human beings. But in spite of that, they were engaging in the process according to regulative principles. And in spite of that, they welcomed Narad Muni and asked them these questions. So again, just like Arjun was put into that moment of bewilderment for our benefit, so that he could ask the questions and inquire from Krishna for our benefit. Similarly, Prachetas, or the whole Bhagavatam, all the devotees, they are asking questions. They are doing devotional activities to teach us how we should follow their footsteps. Bhaja Hure Mana, Srinanda Nandana, Abhaya Charanara Vindare. And at the end of the day, if we are fearful and in anxiety, we cannot function normally as a human being. But if we become fearless And fearless not because of our own efforts, fearless knowing fully well that I am protected by the Lord and his devotees. I'm protected by the Lord is an experience, and I'm protected by the devotees is an actual interaction. So both of them are equally important. Right? And we see from Bhagavatam, there are many instances where there was very exemplary forms of welcome. Right? So we see how Vidur welcomed Krishna with so much love when he went to his place. And of course, we all know that wonderful story of how Vidurani, his wife, was so overwhelmed with love for Krishna, and she was so grateful. She considered her the greatest, Krishna's coming as the greatest fortune, that she completely forgot what she was doing. And she was peeling the banana, and she gave him the banana peel. But Krishna, he is, bhavagrahi janardana. He doesn't want the banana, he wants the bhav. So he saw the bhav in the peel of the banana and he had it. So this is the level of welcome. So it's not just the physical and the externals, it is also the internals. Sometimes we welcome people and say, please, Prabhu, come. But internally we are thinking and looking at the watch. Ye kab jayega yaar? So, so these examples tell us that it has to be from inside. From inside, we want to welcome them. And externals, they become a reflection of our internals. Just like it is said, beautiful or beauty is not just the makeup, is not what you see outside. The beauty has to first be developed inside. And the internal beauty manifests in the external form. Then that is real beauty. Otherwise, nowadays, we just see shallow beauty. Beauty is only there on Facebook, on online. A person is happy only when you see him online. When you see him face to face, you don't even want to see him sometimes in his natural form. So Prabhupada says that the biggest mission of a devotee of the Lord is to award fearlessness to the common man. And that is the greatest gift or the greatest act of charity that the devotee can do on behalf of the Supreme Lord. Right? So ultimately, we welcome people to ensure, Vaishnavas, to ensure that we stay away from fear and anxiety so that we can peacefully focus our devotional activities, our devotional life towards Krishna. And to do that, to remove those fears, of course, we may not have every devotees coming into our life daily or on a regular basis. But whenever we have got the opportunity, we do that. But most importantly, there is something we can do, which most of us are doing anyway, and most of you are doing anyway. There are some things we do on a day-to-day basis which removes us out of fear. And what do we do on a day-to-day basis? We actually do 4 things on a day-to-day basis, which is also fear. So we do fear to remove fear. Now, what do I mean by that? So first, F-E-A-R. So the first F in the fear word, to remove fear, is we faithfully serve the Lord. We faithfully serve the Lord, whether at home or whether in the temple. We serve the Lord. We do Mangalarti. We do offerings. We share our feelings with the Lord. And we serve the Lord. So first is, we are faithfully serving the Lord every single day. That is first. Second, E. E is eagerness to chant. One thing is to chant, that okay, I'm chanting, but more important is the eagerness. So the E in the fear is eagerness to chant. I want to chant. Like, I become agitated if I don't chant on time. And if I can't chant my rounds nicely, I become agitated. That's a great agitation. We must have that agitation. Don't be agitated with other things. But if you are not able to chant, we must be agitated. So we must eagerly look forward to chanting and chant eagerly. That is the second. Third, F-E-A. A is obviously associate with devotees at every single opportunity we get. So association with devotees is not that we have to wait for our devotees to come and then we associate. We should grab opportunities, whether on phone, whether face to face, whether online, whatever it is, whether reading books by devotees, we must associate. Constantly look at associating with devotees. And FEA, and the last one is R. And R is reading Srila Prabhupada's books every single day without fail. Even if it is one line, even if it is one shloka, even if it is one translation, every single day we should read Prabhupada's books. So fear, these four things we are doing, but we do it more consciously and more intently. And this fear will remove our fear. Yeah. So just to conclude, F is for faithfully serving the Lord. E is for eagerly chanting. A is for associating with the devotees at every opportune moment. And R is to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And that will remove fear and anxiety from our life. And every opportunity we get to welcome devotees in our house, in our life, we must consider it our extreme fortune and have genuine feelings of gratitude from inside. And that will please the Lord the maximum. And we become a recipient of the Lord's mercy and complete or ensure that we can achieve our final destination of this human existence. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. I'll now open up for any questions, comments.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. We are given the best tips of the day. Yeah, that is how we get it on every occasion of your teaching, on every classes. This is the real association. We get it every morning, how this fear is avoided by dealing with fear only, for things which is very, very common. And if we attest to that and perform it correctly every day, we will be fortunate and we can achieve our mission to achieve the goal of life, which is the ultimate aim. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And then this is how you brought up the section, how Narad Muni came across in seeing the Prachetas and how the Prachetas dealt with him with the injunction of Shastra, and they've got benefited, which is known as the Falashruti. Thank you once again for enlightening these small sections of the Bhagavatam, but so important in our daily life to make us fearful and anxiety-less. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Make us fearless. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanava Pranam.
Krishna Bhuji.
Thank you for unpacking this verse so nicely. One of the things I really appreciate is Prabhupada in Lila Mitra, that in spite of Prabhupada's extreme health challenge, he was still able to dictate the letter such a nice way. When you read the letter, I mean, I was surprised his clarity of thought and his goal, what he wanted to portray, in spite of the health issues. So Srila Prabhupada took so much challenge to give this Bhagavatam and his association in spite of so much health challenges. I mean, we cannot begin to appreciate his greatness. So just like to appreciate getting out of this comfort zone and giving his association. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for highlighting this point. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji. I wanted to talk a little bit more, but because of time, I did not. And thank you for highlighting that. And the fact is, Prabhupada was under so much physical pain. You know, throbbing is not something comfortable, right? He was so much pain, yet he was so focused. and he was looking at improvements, not for his personal enjoyment, but to ultimately complete the mission of his spiritual master for which he was there in the first place. So it's just amazing. Yes, thank you very much, Prabhuji. I was moved, very, very moved. It was very touching when I read, and it was long, but I just thought, now I want to finish the whole letter. I can't stop midway. So thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, his thought was so focused. The message was very clear. Anybody can understand. It's so clear and sound. Thank you.
Correct. Okay. Any other comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much as usual for the very nice class and bringing out the essence so nicely, and that we can practice in our day-to-day life. Prabhuji, I have just need a bit more clarification on that one. You told that the boy or the fear has to be managed, but will it not for a devotee to go? Because what we read in the Shastra, that even Narad Muni has told, if I can remember, in verse 1.7.7, Jashango Isri Omanaya Krishna Parama Purushe, Krishna Parama Purushe. That's 1.7. Bhakti Rutpadate Pumso Shokomo Bhayapoha. So it will go, isn't it? But for a devotee, we are aiming to end it. And if we remain in the management, means we are in the material level. Of course, I do not say we have reached that level. As a devotee, our aim is to get rid of it. Why should we manage it? It should go in one stage. We have that conviction, probably, isn't it?
Yes.
Just if you clarify the point a bit more.
Sure.
Because you are so knowledgeable, Prabhu.
Oh no, but you've asked the question and you've already answered it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't get it. I'm sorry.
So Prabhu's question was that, I specifically spoke about anxiety and the fact that anxiety or stress, that in today's world, how we cannot be free of anxiety or stress. We need to manage it. So Prabhu's question was that in Bhagavatam, it is said that Shoka, Moho and Bhaya, which is fear, all these three things ultimately completely gets extinguished, means zero. So Prabhu's question is that if the fear goes away completely for a devotee, what is the need to manage the fear? And in fact, he himself has given the answer in his question, whereby we are not at that level of Narad Muni. We are not a pure devotee. So we are trying to become a devotee. We have fortunate enough to get the process, to get association, to get the right guidance, and we are engaging in bhakti right now. Now we have not become perfected. Now in the process of engaging in bhakti, we still have our material conceptions in some form or the other, which is getting reduced, definitely, but it is not zero. So till we have attachments, till we have material engagements, we will have some kind of conditioning. And in that stage, we cannot sometimes, we are progressing in bhakti, but we are not so sincere and completely pure that we are able to, take off all fear or become indifferent to fear or anxiety, which is the ultimate goal. That will happen. But like, if you just consider, before we started Krishna consciousness, how much fearful were we? How much stressful were we? I'm sure all of us will vouch for that it was too much. Sometimes we had to, that's why we were looking at other options, right? Why people go to alcohol? Why people go to the pub? Why people want to go to the beach and just lie down? Why? Because they're so stressed. They just want, it's like a stress buster. And they feel that this is going to reduce the stress, but it doesn't. Temporarily, it does something for a few minutes or a few hours, and then they're back. So we were like this. But now, because we've got the process, at least our stress level and our fear has come down. And as we engage in more bhakti, it is going to come down and down and down and down and down. So when I mean by management is, we have to engage in more bhakti and have a complete understanding that when we get stress, because stress will come, but when we get stressed, we should know what to do. Because people around us, they have other forms of stress busting. but we know we have our own process. So we should stick to that. And the more we engage in this will keep going down, down, down. So when we have zero fear, guess what's going to happen? Our bhakti will be at that level, and we cannot stay anymore in this material world. Garud will be standing in front of our house. So hopefully that's a perspective, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for nicely explaining that. Thank you once again.
Okay, any other
Thank you, Prabhu.
devotees? Yes.
Another important point you mentioned is that the Prachetas were very fortunate. First, by following the order of their father, they were very fortunate to met Lord Shiva. Then they meditated for 10,000 years. Then they got darshan of Lord Vishnu himself, personal person. Then when they were burning the forest trees, they got darshan of Lord Brahma, and now they got darshan of
Yes, thank you I missed that. Yes, correct.
I mean, how can you have such fortunate association? I mean, I was wondering, after meditating for 10,000 years, how is it that they still needed some instruction? I thought they were at a very high level. So here now it comes to give some more instructions. So maybe you can amplify this thing.
Yeah. And Prabhu, actually, if you think about it, yes, definitely they were extremely fortunate, but we are also fortunate, maybe not as fortunate as them, if we compare, but we are also very fortunate, Prabhu. We have so many pure devotees of the Lord, Prabhupada's disciples coming to visit us in Auckland without us having to go anywhere. So when they come, we should exactly have the same mood as the Prachetas. Even if they don't come to our own house, perhaps, or they are busy, they may not be able to. Even when we meet them, how do we interact with them? And if possible, bring them to our house. So, in a year, even if we have opportunity for 3 or 4 such moments where we are able to welcome somebody, that's great. And why just the sannyasis? Even there are a lot of devotees, very sincere, practicing grihasthas, even in Auckland. There may not be, everybody may not be, but there are some very sincere devotees. So interacting with them also is important, and we can consider that as good fortune, because finding a good devotee, whether a sannyasi or a grihastha or a brahmachari, doesn't matter. A sincere devotee who's practicing is a sign of great association, and having association of such a person, we should consider our good fortune. So we should not wait for somebody to come into our life to consider it a great fortune. We must look at opportunity to associate with such a person and welcome that person in our life, in our home, to get the advantage. So rather than lamenting that, oh, they were so fortunate, we should look for opportunities following their footsteps and be greedy. Laulyam we must have to have their association.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, it's 8:34. I think we should conclude here. Big day.
Yeah. Vancha kalpatarubhya
अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हिज ग्रेस सुहित कृष्ण प्रभु की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.